Hello everyone. Today we will be taking apart this 1960s era mains-powered AM radio. And if you want to skip directly to the teardown, go to that timestamp, but if you want to learn more about this and listen to it, well then here you go. This is a Westinghouse brand radio, made in I think 1963, I'm not really sure if that's the correct date. It has a volume knob, which also doubles as a power switch, and a tuning dial. On the top and sides there's nothing, but on the back there is this old peeling label, some vents, and a mains input. And on the bottom there is a label specifying that this is good for 105 to 120 volts AC, 50 to 60 cycles, which is hertz, or DC, that's interesting, must have some sort of rectifier, and then a label telling what parts the user should be able to replace. And that's one big clue this thing is old, because nowadays, the companies don't want you to replace any parts, they just want you to get a new thing. But back in the old days, there were probably more regulations, and the users were responsible for replacing their own parts. And this warning right here wouldn't actually need to be there if the users couldn't replace its own parts. And let's give this radio a little listen. Plugging the dodgy old cable into the mains input. This cable is not polarized, but if you plug it in backwards, it doesn't work, so I'm not really sure what's the point of that. Trial and error, I suppose, on the customer side. Let's turn this thing on. It will take some time before the audio starts coming through. You hear it now?
Once the plane lands, the flight pilot, that is, apologizes to passengers.
A station.
Yep, down to B-52. Many passengers call him a hero. No.
Is up for a judgeship on the federal court. And
yeah, on AM you typically don't see that many stations, because the AM band is very susceptible to interference, and basically nobody listens to AM radio anymore, so nobody really cares. But without further ado, if you decided to skip, welcome back! Let's tear this thing apart. There are no screws holding this back cover on, so you can just open it up like this. It's a bit hard to open, but let's just see if I can do this with my bare hands. Oh yeah, there you go. Let's go! Okay, so it's just held together by some little clips, and look at the inside of this thing. Ooh, what a beauty. Old electronics. So, you might be wondering what all these little glass things in over here. Well, those are vacuum tubes, which are the precursors to semiconductors. They basically use a heated cathode and an anode to, basically act as diodes and transistors and stuff. They're classified in different categories. I'm not really sure what the exact ones in this radio are. Well, the tube types are listed on the bottom right there. But anyway, I'm not sure what these two metal boxes are. If you do know, leave it down in the comments below. This is the main power switch and volume knob. The main smoothing capacitor, I think. It's a very old-fashioned, dodgy thing. It says 50 MFD, which is kind of strange. It probably means 50 microfarad, but this is made before they had the international marking of microfarad being lowercase u, f, lowercase u, uppercase f. This coil on a ferrite rod is the receiving antenna for the AM waves. There's some extra resistors and jumpers in there, and then the variable capacitor for tuning what frequency you want to receive. And I'm actually surprised that this is mounted on a PCB. As you can see, it's just a thin board. Normally, for stuff this old, I would expect to see a giant metal cabinet with wires running inside of it instead of a real PCB with traces, but I guess this radio was a bit ahead of its time. And if you want a closer look at these tubes, well, these things are actually in sockets, and you can easily replace them, because these things have heated cathodes that wear out over time, just like light bulbs, and they need to be replaced every so often. So here it is. You might notice that there is this little deposition of metal on the side, and Most vacuum tubes have metal depositions. That is called the getter, and it basically just removes all of the excess impurities that are left in the tube after it has been vacuum sealed. And if the vacuum is ever broken, the getter turns white, so it's also an indication of whether or not the tube still has its vacuum. And I said that the cathodes are heated, but they are actually heated enough to glow, so I am going to... oh my goodness. I am going to turn the radio on while the cover is still open to show the glowing cathodes. Although if you do this, just make sure not to touch anything that's inside over here, because there is no mains isolation over here, and everything is in reference to mains voltage. So let me grab the cable, plug it in, and now turn it on. And turn out the light too. You should be able to see that the vacuum tubes are glowing. That glow is coming from the cathode, which gets hot and radiates electrons, and it just looks absolutely sick, and I love it, and many other people do too. And, oh my goodness. Sorry. And it's farting too, that's nice. Let's turn it off. And unplug the connector. So, vacuum tube technology looks nice, but in reality you don't want a computer to be using vacuum tubes, because vacuum tubes are way more unreliable than modern semiconductors, and it didn't even close properly, so let's try that again. So, it's a good thing that we've switched away from vacuum tubes. They're also very inefficient, unlike most semiconductors. Anyway, bye!